Hey guys, it's Petey Two Finger, and I'm excited. We're gonna pop over and take a look. Roger Waters is bringing his. This is not a drill live from Prague 2025 version. He had already done this on the simulcast last year. The night that they played in Prague, they did a simulcast where they you could go to your local theater and sit there and enjoy the concert being simulcast to the theater. Now they've edited this thing in 4K and they're going to release a 4 album live set. The DVD, the whole package is going to eventually come out, but they're also going to show it at the theater on the 23rd of July and the 27th of July. My local theater is charging $15 for this event, and I will be in attendance. Also, interestingly enough, you can go over to, if you go to Roger Waters and you go to news, there's this thing called Substack. And this is basically it's Roger's blog. So interestingly enough, he has written his memoir, which is called Love and Truth, and that's going to be coming out. That I am really like I am more excited for Love and Truth to drop than anything else that's ever been released. I cannot wait to read Roger Waters' memoir. And I know everyone's going to be up in arms. They're all going to be talking about how, what a self centered, egomaniacal prick this guy is. Roger Waters is one of my favorite human beings. And I understand as a fellow human being that we're all flawed. And I don't agree with Roger's politics 100%, but I also admire the man for working towards instituting a dialogue, working towards instituting change, working towards what he feels would be means to an ends for world peace. So I admire the man for standing on his convictions. They're not mine. This is what he believes. And I found it heartwarming to read the January 3rd blog entry, 2025, Roger Waters, from his Love and Truth memoir, where he talks about a little bit about his cat, Chocolate Charlie Brown, the Burmese cat, and then Donald. Roger had a ducky that was his friend. Actually, the duck bonded with Roger and thought that Roger was his mother. So that's like a real heartwarming story, and you can go over to Roger Waters' blog, rogerwaters.com, and you can also the speech on the 80th anniversary of the Yalta Conference. I'm definitely going to take the time to read this. So, yeah, if you're a fan of humanity, I would say that this is something important that we would want to support this guy's work. Uh, how could you not be a fan of Roger Waters, the music that he made? I know there's people out there that get their kicks saying, I hate The Wall, I hate Dark Side of the Moon. I don't. I love that music. That was the music of my childhood. Um, my non-existent childhood. And it is basic stuff. When you approach that music, it seems like it's like layered and got all these different levels and meanings. He's written it in a way that it's vague enough that you can kind of interject a lot of your own stuff into it, meaning into it. But the universal message, if you put all that stuff into a blender and then pour it into your glass, to me, the takeaway was always that like love triumphs hate. That we're not really strong enough to force our will through the front door. That it takes a village. Like that was always the takeaway for me was like love your brother in the Pink Floyd music. It was like there is this path of greed and putting your will over another human being, and that's the path of darkness and evil. We want to avoid that path. That was always the takeaway that I walked away listening to that stuff. So I have a hard time understanding how people can look at this guy and say that he's anti-Semite and a racist. I paid attention all along, way back in the day before people were saying that stuff about him. I have literally absorbed all of that music and memorized all of it. I've listened to all of it forwards and backwards, and I even know the secret messages, the backmasking by heart. So the fact that you would come out and say this guy is a racist, his father died fighting the Nazis. Well, actually, I would have to look that up. Who was on the other end of that battle in Anzio? Let's look that up. Who fought at Anzio? Was it the Italian army versus? Yeah, it was the United States, Britain, and Canada versus Germany and the Italian Social Republic. But the units that were there, um, it was just a handful of Italian men, 4,600 versus 20,000 Nazis. And mass casualties. 43,000 men died on the Allied side, and 40,000 died on the Nazi and the Italian Socialist Republic. So, Roger's father was killed by the Nazis. To say to him, he's a Nazi, you're really missing the point. And to be quite frank, if any people are here and you're going to try to unload on me and attack me personally because I'm a fan of this guy, please understand, like I've said, I listened to that music since I was a kid. I'm coming up on being 60 years old. And I never picked up on any racist, like the message that was in that music was that, yes, there's two paths. There's this path of wickedness where you're taking advantage of another human being, but we don't, that's not the choice we want to make. There is a better path, choosing this path of love, okay? That was always the message that I found in the Pink Floyd music. That it was choose wisely, because if you go down that other path, it's not going to be a good ending for you. That was the message. That was the punchline. The message that was embedded in that music. So ultimately, that's really sad that something like that has been taken and kind of misunderstood, and that people are out there that feel that this guy is something that he is not. It's really a shame. And I think if you read his actual words, like more recently on this tour, he was going to perform in Germany, and the German court called him in before he was able to perform because they wanted to try to convict him and say the guy's a racist, we're not going to let him play. And the German court deemed that he was not, and they let him play in Germany. So they are pretty strict about that stuff over there, about Nazism. There's a questionable scene in this concert where he dresses up like a Nazi and marches around, and he's shouting in a German accent. And the point of that is not to glorify that. The point of that whole thing is to say, look at what this guy's become. This is what we don't. This is not the best case scenario, what this guy went through. That he's going to turn into this fascist. And if you know rock and roll history, that whole portion that he wrote about In the Wall, which is kind of like an opera, you could think of it, it's not even him. It was Eric Clapton who did this racist rant in 73 or 74, something like that. if you read what Clapton said, a lot of those same things are reflected in the lyrics of songs like Waiting for the Worms on the Wall album. So it's it's plain for me to see what he was doing was a theatrical thing, that it backfired and blew up in his face on this last tour. And they took him to court in Germany over it. And they ultimately they said, we're going to go ahead and let you do whatever you want to do what it is that you do in your show. And he came out and actually stopped the show and said, as a he wasn't gonna take it quite as far as he normally did, considering where he was in the politics of that. So he didn't use the replica Mauser or whatever the weapon is that he fires off a replica machine gun, a World War II machine gun, a German gun, fires that off at the crowd at the end of the song. And it's quite an effect. It's like on the screen, there's muzzle flashes, but if you actually look at him, there isn't. And the gun was operated pneumatically somehow. There's a hose connected to the gun. So I believe it's operated with compressed air, is how it fires. And again, like I said, the guy knows how to put on a show, and that's why his concerts always had that reputation that people didn't want to miss them, because you were going to see the best show on the road. So this very well may be it for Roger. I don't know if he's going to go back out. I'll be there. I can't miss it. I've seen this twice already. I already saw it in the theater. And I'm going to go again. I'm really excited to hear him play The Bar, that song. I'm going to get emotional. He goes into the last song on the wall. He's playing The Bar, and he goes right into Outside the Wall, which I just covered that, by the way. If you'd like to hear my version of Outside the Wall, that can be found on this channel. But like I said, I've seen all of his tours, and he's always been my guy, Roger. I love that guy. Love his work. Brilliant human being, and really, really a brave and brilliant man. Really unfortunate how things ended up with this, the Dave Gilmour fans popping up in the Rogers corner, taking shots at Roger constantly. I never see anyone, if it's a Gilmour post, I never see anyone saying stuff about Waters being superior to Gilmour. But every time there's anything relating to Roger Waters in social media, Gilmour fans will be in there character assassinating Roger. And this has led to this new thing now that you can't mention the guy's name without people sandbagging the guy or just piling on him. And it turns into a whole character assassination thing. So I'm one of those people that's always stood behind him and proclaimed, if you pay attention and you have half a brain, you would know that the guy isn't a racist. So, of course, if he's going to do something, I'm going to be on here letting people know about it. I did my duty. He's the one guy that I wish I could meet him and sit down and like have lunch with him. I would love to pick that guy's brain and get to know him. I think he is a brilliant, and as far as like a his ability to write, that he was like gifted with something profoundly special. That guy, 1 in a million. All right, you guys. I'll see you at the It's Not a Drill tour. Hug your pets and peace.